Welcome to Eternal Journey, the podcast.
What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Eternal Journey, the podcast that talks about all things eternal with a focus on limited play. This is episode 38, and we're going to be doing a Flame of Xulta First Impressions episode. I'm your host, Jedi, but I have a special guest with me here today. A fellow limited aficionado decided to come on the podcast and allow me to have a actual discussion, and not with myself or the voices in my head, about Flame of Xulta. So without further ado, I want to introduce a good friend of mine, Darth Herman. How you doing, brother?
What is up, Jedi? How's it going?
Going pretty well, man. Going pretty well. Finally got the audio thing settled up and got everything up and running. So I do appreciate you being patient and being on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Sweet. So real quick, a little bit of housekeeping. Want to go ahead and mention the YouTube channel. That's right. If you go to YouTube and search up either EJthePodcast or Eternal Journey, you will find all my offline but still online content, to include draft videos, sealed videos, cube drafting, which I'll talk about in a moment, and then now that the new ECQ season will start, you'll catch some tournament reports on there as well. So definitely check it out if you're unable to make my streams, which is my live stream every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday at twitch.tv/Jedi_EJ, where you can come hang out. We'll talk limited, top constructed, and just hang out, talk some real life stuff. Every Sunday I do a cube draft now, which is, for those of you that do not know, is when you take 5 curated packs, draft them with no rarity restrictions. That's right. That's the long and short of it. I can go more in depth if you guys do hang out, but every Sunday on my stream, people tune in and I will create a draft format and we draft it online and pretty much battle it out. And it is an absolute ton of fun. Darth Herman, you have not been able to make it yet as far as to participate, but I believe you have spectated, right?
Yeah, I have watched a few of the matches. I haven't been able to play yet, but I will one of these Sundays. I'm looking forward to when I can. Yeah,
I gotta tell you, I really feel like I'm onto something as far as new content for Eternal, just because the participation level isn't quite there just yet, but the viewership is there. I've gotten raids from other streamers and the numbers stay watching, so clearly we've got something going on. Several people have told me I just need to get hired on as a full-time commentator, which I'll take the compliment. I wish it was for my gameplay, but I'll take it for my voice too. But
for sure.
But once again, you guys can check out the gameplay from previous episodes on the YouTube channel. And if not, like I said, tune in live every Sunday. All right, last thing I want to move into is the shout out section of our show. And first off, I want to give a shout out to a couple of fellow streamers for raids. First up is Enrouch1. Now that I shifted my schedule to Monday and Tuesday evenings, I guess the end of his stream, he was able to raid me and as well as give me a shout out on Twitter for the cube. So I really do appreciate the support from that community, as well as Jim Marv, or Guy Marv, not necessarily sure. He is a brand new streamer to Eternal. I believe he actually raided me after his first stream of Eternal. So welcome to the community. And then of course Cassandrith and Circa Sparkles for the huge raids on Sunday. Really appreciate the support from the community. You guys are fantastic. For those of you that don't know, Cassandrith, Jamarv, Enrouch1, and Circa Sparkles are all streamers that they stream various content. Cassandrith is limited. I'm not sure about Gmarv. Circa Sparkles is a variety show, and Enrouch1 is constructed. So definitely check them out. Show them a little bit of love. Throw some follows their way. One thing I do want to mention, I think it was kind of funny, Circa Sparkles raid was for 529 people, which ironically is the Boy Scout troop number of my Boy Scout troop when I was younger. The troop number of my Boy Scout troop. There you go. That's English. All right. I know. I have an audio show, and half the time English does not work for me. So
I love it.
Yeah, but hey, I like to be real, so I try to edit as little as possible. Unless something is complete debauchery. But the final part of our shout out section is our subs. So of course, I want to start off by saying thank you to all my resubs. We are slowly working towards building the Jedi Order, and I'm super excited because I believe this coming month is when people start getting their Yoda emotes or badges, so I'm super excited about that. I don't even have it. I have a couple of Darth Maul lightsabers running around, a couple of Obi-Wan lightsabers, so be exciting to get to Yoda, and then we get to count down the months till we get to Vader. So thank you all for the ongoing support. And then we have some new subscribers this month or week. And starting off with E-Money Bags, that's right, the Eric Experience decided to gift 5 different subs to the channel, so I really appreciate the support from him. He is a fellow streamer, does a lot of customer service streams and limited play, so definitely check him out. Definitely out there to help the community one person at a time. But the fellow or new subscribers that he was kind enough to gift include Orlin, Spice on Rice, Darthenos, which is a big proponent on the Discord, so really appreciate your help there, Darthenos, John Holio, and Slade Zeno, a fellow streamer. So thank you guys. Welcome so much. Welcome to the Jedi Order, and thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. Once again, E-Money Bags, you rock, buddy. But all right, Darth, are you ready for some pack one, pick one action, brother?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. All right, so I have my pack of Flame of Xulta here. So, all right, we're gonna go down the commons, buddy. I will describe them, and I'll tell you what, you are the guest. I'm sure our listeners are tired of hearing my opinion on things, so I'll describe the card, and you give me your breakdown on it. All right.
All right.
So first off, we have Malaise. This is the fast spell at common for 2 and a shadow. Target player of your choice discards the top 6 cards of their deck.
So I mean that card's works with the 1/2 that it's like a combat trick for the 1/2 exalted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean it works really good with that, and then if you're in the discard deck, but other than that, you don't really need that card.
Yeah, you know? I think it's pretty niche.
It's very specific, yeah.
Cool. All right, let's see what else is in the pack. We have the Ardent Convert. This is the cultist at common, the 1/1 for 1 at a time, and has exalted. What are your thoughts on this guy? I've heard some people be kind of high on this guy.
Yeah, I mean he's a filler in like a Combre deck, you know. It works okay if you can pump him, and then the boost goes over to the to the weapon when he dies.
Yeah.
So, serviceable. What do you think about that guy?
I'm still low on it. At the end of the day, he's still a 1/1 for 1, and I just don't feel like. I mean, I'm even starting to like lower my standard on the 1/1 lifesteal guy. I was high on him initially, and don't get me wrong, I still think he's good, but he's definitely not as high as I started. This guy just, I mean, the dream is to play him and then be able to like pump him to do something, and then when they kill him or you kill him, then it adds additional buffs to something else. But I don't know, I'm always skeptical of cards that need other cards to become better, you know?
Yeah, I have been like passing on him more, and the Justice one that you just mentioned, I used to never pass that guy, and I have been passing him now. So, but yeah, they have gone down a little bit.
And maybe it's just because people are getting used to the format, so games are playing out a little differently. But anywho, moving on, we have Immortalize. This is the fast spell at common for 2 and a shadow. Draw a unit from your void and decimate. It gets exalted. I
mean, right now it's the pick, right? It'll be pretty hard to unseat it too. I first picked that card before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, I've done it several times as well. It's just such a neutral card where you can splash it late, and you're happy in every deck. You know what I mean? Like the bar in this set for reoccurring a unit is significantly lower because of the fact that there's so much exalted, and the uncommons are extremely powerful and stuff. So like, you're not as hard pressed of being like, man, do I have anything that's worth bringing back? You know?
Absolutely.
And the fact that, you can give a unit Immortalize adds even more value to it, because let's say your void does only have like a vanilla 2/2. Well, you can easily still get it back if you need a body, and then give a +2/+2 to one of your other units. So,
I mean, even the basement case is, instant speed, raise dead or whatever. Bring it back to your hand. So it's like not the end of the world if you can't decimate, and bring a body back.
Yeah, exactly. I hear you.
Yeah, I do. I like that card a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's definitely our first pick right now. All right, next up we have a Living Mountain. This is the 4/4 giant at common for 5 and a red. It has summon, give one of your other units +2/+2 and overwhelm this turn. What do you think?
Solid 5-drop. Like,
Yeah.
I think Immortalizes, I would pick over that card, but I
Mm-hmm.
do like it as the finisher in the Oni deck, specifically the Rakano deck. It works pretty well in there with the mastery guys.
Yeah, yeah, but I agree with you. I think it being it's a 5-drop, but it's not a game-ending 5-drop. I think it's just extremely serviceable. So, yeah, still immortalized. Next up, we have Reconnaissance. This is the slow spell at common for 2 and a shadow. Give one of your units +2 attack and unblockable this turn. Decimate. When it hits the enemy player this turn, draw the top card of their deck.
It's an okay card. It's often the card that I end up cutting to make it down to the right, the number of playables that I need.
Mm-hmm.
But I've lost to that card several times with the unblockable unit.
Yeah, I'm actually very similar to the same boat as you, where like I take it and half the time it makes the deck, half the time it doesn't, but I continuously lose this card in one
I
form or fashion.
always.
I mean, especially with so much berserk going around that we'll talk about later on, the you can potentially get in for somewhere between anywhere like baseline 8 damage, because I think all the berserk units are at least 2 attack. So you're talking about 8 damage plus 2 cards, like that's huge.
Yeah, that's very swingy.
Next up we have Zoltan Paladin, the 3/2 Paladin at common for 2 and a green, and that's it. Just a vanilla 3/2. Just serviceable. I mean, it's filler, right?
Yep, it's in the deck oftentimes, but it's not flashy.
Yeah, I mean it's above rate, right? We're getting a 3/2 instead of a 2/2 for 2, so it is better than standard rate, but
Yeah,
once again, nothing flashy. Next up, we have Acclaimed Artisan. This is the 2/3 Oni at common for 2 Fire Justice, so Rakano. Your other Oni have +1 attack, and then Mastery 4 Exalted.
I really like that guy. I've had draft decks where I've had like 4 of them, and that's just pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, like he works so well in multiples. Like typically, there's certain cards that the more of them you get, they kind of go down in value. But Acclaimed Artisan is the complete opposite direction. The more you get, they buff each other. They help trigger each other's masteries. Like they pump the rest of your teams. Like it can get a run away with the game very easily to where all your units start trading up against your opponents.
The Oni deck, if you can get that one going, it's pretty steamroller. It steamrolls pretty quickly.
So let me ask you this: between Acclaimed Artisan and Immortalize, you have a powerful unit that synergizes well, but it's 2 factions, and then you have just an all-around decent common spell in 1 faction. Like, what do you have for your first pick right now?
I would probably take the Oni just to try to make that work, because when it does, it's like I really enjoy that deck. It's fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I would maybe try to make the Onis work right now if the pick was between those two.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, I have something that
I'm not saying that's the correct pick,
Mm-hmm.
but it's probably the one I would make.
Yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. All right. So I might give you a bit of a challenge, though. Our first uncommon is Teething Whelp. This is the 2/2 Nightmare Dragon at uncommon for 2 and a fire. It has Mastery 2 flying, then Mastery 6 +3/+3. This thing finishes its mastery at a 5/5 flyer. So, what's up, buddy? What do you think? Acclaimed Artisan or Teething Whelp?
So it's funny that you opened that, because I have never opened a draft and had that. Like, I've never been past one. I've never got to pick one. I don't have 0 in my collection.
Oh, I mean, I think the general consensus is that it's a really good card. So I doubt you'll get past them anymore. Yeah.
Absolutely. I would right now. That would be I would windmill slam that one for sure.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I can get behind that. I mean, it's a baseline 2/2 for 2, so that's a little underwhelming. But if you can connect one time with this and it gives it flying, like this card can just easily run away with the game. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, you need to deal with that threat immediately, pretty much.
Okay. All right. We have Edict of Grodoff, which is, obviously one of the enemy hate cards. This is a fast spell at uncommon for 3 and a time. And its baseline, put an enemy unit or spell into its owner's hand. If it's primal or shadow, put it on the bottom of its owner's deck instead. So for all intents and purposes, should it be Feln or some type of Feln combination, it is a removal spell in the best kind of way, because obviously putting it at the bottom of our deck in a game that does not have a way to shuffle the deck except for one card that I know of, it's great removal. So where are you at on the Edict?
They've gone down slightly for me since the start of the format, but I think the time one is the best one. So, I mean, that one's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. But it's not beating out Teething Whelp, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
What do you?
Nah, not for me either. I'm lower on them as well. I graded them. I think I initially graded them at like a C plus, and I think they might just be like a C for me now, because it's one of those things where like the format is extremely diversified right now. So it's not. Yes, a lot of people will make the argument that we'll talk about in a little bit that Time might be one of the best factions, but it's not like every deck is running Time. You know what I mean? You're not just running into every version of Time and when you draft. And so the edicts aren't as guaranteed of a good hit as usual. You know what I mean? And then, of course, one of the things that everyone has been talking about as well is you have to grade it on what it does when it's not an enemy color. And a bounce spell is fine. I mean, I think it's serviceable. We've played that before. So I think this one being a baseline bounce spell at fast speed is fine. But it's not going to beat out Teething Whelp for me either.
I forget even the second clause about bouncing the spell back. I don't think I've ever done that part of it.
I've done it a couple of times. Mainly it's like the last spell I play of the game, where I have like some kind of big flyer that's going to kill them in a turn or two, and they try to kill it, so I just bounce the spell back into their hand. Actually, I mean, now that I think about it, I think most cases it's going to end up taking the spell out, because it's going to be something like a Fel Ritual, so I put the spell on the bottom of their deck and just win. So it's coming. I mean, it's there. The option is there, but you definitely have to. 3 power is not something easily left open. So
yeah,
there's a window that you kind of have to set up for it. But when you do, it could definitely pay off. But all right, our final uncommon is Skywatch Zealot. This is the 0/3 cultist at uncommon for 2 and a primal. It has Exalted and then Dragon Ally. Draw a card. Yeah, I've literally never played this card.
No, haven't played it.
Fair enough. Let's move on. We have a rare, and this is Conservatory Alchemist. This is a 2/2 unseen at rare, obviously, for 2 and Feln, so 2 primal shadow. And it reads, when you play a curse, all units, get a +1 attack permanently. So what do you think? Can this beat out Teething Whelp?
Probably not. Raven Dragon just steamrolled me with the first deck, but I don't think it would beat out the 2/2 for 2. What do you think?
Ironically, I just played this guy in my last draft.
You did some experimentation. I have experience with that guy at all.
Yeah, I actually did, because I wanted to see. What really sold me on it is the fact that it pumps the team. If it only pumped itself, it would be a little bit different. But the fact that it pumps its team, and right now Feln or Argentport are kind of like stall the board type archetypes. I think you have, and especially Feln, like this guy's Feln colors. So you have at least 3 flyers in Feln that come down early. In the form of the 1/4, you have the 2/1, and then you have the 0/5, that they're all 3 and 4 cost flyers. So I can easily see a scenario where you go this guy on 2, either attacks or he doesn't. Then you play the 1/4, then you play the 0/5, and then you play a torture on something to get a blocker out of the way, and now all of a sudden your team gets pumped.
Yeah.
So
That seems pretty powerful.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not. I don't think it's necessarily too far fetched. Like you're playing a 2 drop and you're playing a torture or a curse like mistrust, or you know what I mean. Like I think it's well within the realm of reality. I mean, obviously, worst case scenario, you draw this late in the game and you may not have a curse to play, but I mean, every 2 drop runs into that problem. You know.
Yeah.
So
So would you first pick that? You think then?
no, I'm a pretty conservative drafter, so I think I would still take Teething Whelp just because it's one color.
Yeah, I think I would agree. It's like that would like lead you towards Feln instead of picking just a one color card, you know?
I mean,
So yeah.
once again, you've seen my drafts. I have no problem abandoning my rare. I'll take the most powerful card possible, you know, for the first 3 or 4 picks, but I'm more than willing to let them all go. In fact, well, I think it was in fact the last draft that I posted on the YouTube, I second picked a Shenra Speaks, and then we ended up not being neither justice nor time by the end of the draft. So I think if I was drafting, you know, top 8 to win a tournament, I would take Teething Whelp. If I was drafting just for me and I wanted to experiment and explore, then I would take the Conservatory Alchemist.
That's fair.
All right. Well, that's our pack one, pick one. Awesome. Kind of interesting actually having someone to go back and forth with instead of my rule being final or my word being final. But all right, let's go ahead and dive right into our main topic, Darth Herman, and which is our first impressions of Flame of Xulta. So Flame of Xulta has been out for a little bit, roughly about a month now, I believe. I was a little behind on podcasting just because I was waiting for them to release the whole set, and they didn't spoil the whole set until it was straight up released. So I had to kind of do my commons and uncommon set review, then the rare and legendary, and now we're at the first impressions. So go ahead and give us a little, like a quick overview of what you got going on so far.
Well, let's see here. The biggest thing for me, like getting used to, is the huge curated packs. I know we've talked about this a little bit. Made it really hard to find consistency with the first pack picks that you made. And then the middle 2 packs were kind of all over the place. And then you're back to the Flames of Xulta pack 4, and then you're kind of like, you have a mini train wreck that you're trying to figure out what's going on. That seemed to be happening a lot for me at the beginning, but I'm getting a little better at it.
Yeah, it's so the reason why, obviously, just for our listeners that don't know, the reason why the curated packs are so, or the card pool in the curated packs is so large, straight up huge now. I think it's like 600 or 700 cards, is because they wanted to facilitate the new players to get into Expedition. So now the current Expedition format is Flame of Xulta plus everything that's in the curated pack. So in order to have a big enough card pool to facilitate a format like that, they had to make the draft card pools ginormous, which obviously affects the limited format. And you're correct, like the cards that you get are all over the place. If you guys remember 2 sets ago where we were dealing with 3 color factions, you know, we were able to, okay, I'm going to try to go this, and then this will open up the options to get either this or this tri-faction in packs 2 and 3. And now it's just, it's completely, you have no idea what you are getting, where you almost have the option of picking whatever you want every pack or every pick in pack 1, because really it's packs 2 and 3 that are going to decide where your draft is going. Now, that being said, 2 things I want to touch on. First off is, it's interesting because you said you have no idea where your deck is going, which is totally true, right? But then the flip side to that is that it also makes it very difficult to play around your opponent's decks, because, you know, in previous formats you have an idea where, like, okay, they have to have, you know, a finite number of combat tricks or removal spells based on what factions they're at, but or are in. But now that the curated packs are so random, it's almost impossible to put your opponent on anything unless it's like clear as day. They're telegraphing what trick or removal spell they're holding up, because it just could be anything. They're not guaranteed to have any one specific card.
I mean, it's made for the gameplay to be pretty fun because there's so many cards, you know. So I've seen a variety of plays that you're like, oh, that's from all kinds of different sets, you know. So that
Yes.
I do like the gameplay portion of it. It's just the drafting is a little hair pulling sometimes, you know.
Yeah, especially for the more conservative drafters that like to be almost locked in, like by the beginning of pack two, almost.
And it's like you could feel fully locked in, and then that second pack just throws you off because it's all over the place.
So let me ask you something, because I've adopted both paths based on how pack one goes, but which so there's two school of thoughts at least I have when I draft this format. The first one is that I either lock into one color, and unless there's a obviously better pick in the pack for another faction, I try to prioritize one faction that I know is open to leave myself as much flexibility for packs 2 and then eventually 3 as possible. But if that's not the clear sign, where sometimes you've been on stream with me where I've just been like, I have no idea what they're passing me because their picks are all over the place, then I've also tried to just simply leave pack 1 completely open and just take the best card every pick, and then have pack 2 decide what my deck is going to look like. So have you experimented with either of that? Do you favor one or the other, or do you have your own version or theory of drafting?
Well, I think for this set, what I've tried to do is, like you said, stay in one color as much as you can. And then let pack 2 kind of determine what faction you're going to use as your side color, That's what I've tended to do. I have not had success with anything more than 2 colors. So I have not tried to just take the best card and see what happens in the second pack. Because the fixing isn't always there. And then I think you sometimes get forced like that with the first pack. It's not, you don't really get to pick just one color. So you have to pick a variety of colors, and those are the decks that struggle the most for me anyways.
I think I've experienced both. Like I said earlier, I've had some pack 1 and 4s where clear as day what you're supposed to be in, and sure enough you're extremely rewarded in pack 4. There was one draft where I had 4 draw strengths and 4 Grodov's favored. So those, and obviously those were all from pack 1 and 4. So I 100% knew, I was like, all right, I'm Combre, and so I adjusted my picks in packs 2 and 3 because I was like, hey, I'm gonna get a decent amount of playables in packs 1 and 4. So I just need to make sure that packs 2 and 3 give me an okay amount of playables to finish rounding off my deck.
Now, do you feel confident if you've picked your Combre at the end of pack 1, that when pack 4 rolls around, all the Combre cards will be there for you again?
It's based on, well, obviously the cards have to be in the packs. There's very much chances that they're just, the randomness is just not there, and that's sometimes why we feel like we get mixed signals. But another option, if the person passing to me is a skilled drafter and they identify their lane early, yes, I do feel confident. You just know if you're getting past, for example, once again, just use Grodov's favor. If you're getting past a 4th pick, Grodov's favored, and then let's say the Kieran Spiketail 7th, there's a pretty good chance that the person passing to you is not on time. And so
grab time cards.
Yeah. Now, if it's one of those things where I'm getting the Spiketail Kieran 4th, and then maybe a Priscillatize or a Cultist on 5 or 6, those signals aren't really as clear because those are easily passable cards. Much I think that the deck that I got those 3 or 4 draw strengths, 3 of the draw strengths were in the first pack. So I mean, that is a clear-cut sign to me that they're not drafting justice, because there's no way there were good enough picks to pass. You can pass 1, maybe 2 draw strengths, even though I feel like you'd be hard-pressed to do that. But seeing a draw strength somewhere between 7th and 11th pick is just, there's no reason for that, in my opinion. So
yeah, that's a good sign right there.
Yeah. Now, once again, if I'm looking and there's just no cut signs or everything I'm getting are kind of medium cards, then I'm still going to try to stay open and let pack 2 and 3 decide where my draft's going to go.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, it takes a moment to look at the deck and see where my power level is at the end of pack 1. And I mean, I've been on both sides of the spectrum. Like I said, I've been in drafts where I 100% know my 2 factions by the end of pack 1, and I've been other times where I'm like at the end of pack 2, I still don't know what my 2 factions are. I've only drafted a solid 3 colors a handful of times, probably under 3 times. And if I identified early on that I was 3 colors, then I prioritized a decent amount of fixing, and it worked out. I mean, obviously, part of that is being able to play the Evangels, because then they're 2/2s that you want to have in your deck, and then they still fix you. That's a good sign as well. If you're getting a certain Evangel late, that gives you the option. Like, I think there was one time where I ended up splashing Primal because in the last 4 picks of pack 1 and 4, I was able to pick up like 3 Primal Evangels. So I was like, well, shoot, there's my fixing, plus like 1 Ancient Manual and stuff like that. So it's an interesting draft process, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit. There's very few times where I've felt frustrated in my draft quality. And even then, that's just the nature of drafting. Like, sometimes you get the cards past you, and sometimes the cards are not in the packs.
I think some packs are hopeless. Sometimes you just get past impossible packs.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk about a little bit on single faction and multi-faction rares. Like, what are you seeing? So I know we talked a little bit beforehand, and you weren't very impressed with the single faction rares, but you felt like the multi-faction rares are extremely overpowered.
Not extremely overpowered. They're just like more powerful than the single faction rares.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from the Shadow ones, Shadow does have some pretty bomby rares in the single faction. But I mean, on your set review, it's just like card after card on the multi-faction ones were just great,
Yeah, and I mean, that is to be expected, right? Like, I mean, they're
Yeah,
dual faction. They're obviously going to be pushed, so they make the new mechanics look flashy.
So it's like if you pick one of those, like I'm horrible with card names. The Argenport, it's kind of like Slay. The Decimate kill spell.
Decimate kill spell. Hold on. Oh yeah, yes. I know what you're talking about. Hold on, let me see if I can look it up real quick. Where is it at? I know exactly which one you're talking about. Let me see. Cast in the Shadow.
Cast in the Shadow. So that card, pack 1, pick 1. It's like, yeah, let's go Argenport. That was a 7-win draft run that I had, and it was like I just lucked into pick 1 that, and then all the Argenport cards were open pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that kind of leads you in a direction where it doesn't really like railroad your draft, but I'm not going to force it if it's not, but it kind of would lead you to that color. Whereas opposed to the single faction ones, there's really not very many that pull you in that color.
Mm-hmm. So
at least that's what it was like to me.
So what are your views? Like, how highly do you take these rares and stuff and legendaries with such a heavy influence requirements? Because, like, obviously all the legendaries are, Heart of the Vault style, where it's like triple one faction, triple of the other faction. Like, do those just completely deter you that early, or do you take them and risk it? Are you willing to lose it, or do you try to force that color? Like, what's your views on that? Because I mean, obviously we just established they're powerful, but because of that, you are also paying a steep influence cost.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, if you pick one of those, and then it's not open, that's a feel bad if you forced it, and it's just a horrible deck. So no, I mean, I wouldn't try to force it, but if those colors are open, then I'm all in, like I'm willing to try any of those cards, it seems like.
Mm-hmm. And what about pack 4? Pick 1.
Pack 4, pick 1. Then it's a lot of times I've picked a common in that pack because I'm the uncommons and the rare don't have anything to do with what I'm doing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
pick a Kirin or any serviceable common for your deck, because there's really no rare or uncommon that fits at all. You know.
What if you're in one of the two colors? Like not the legendaries, but let's say the rares. The rares that are two influence, 2 and 2. What do you think? Would those be something that you try to maybe splash into on pack 4, pick 1, or no?
No, not really. I mean, if you manage to pick up some random fixing,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe. It's just asking a lot to get 2 of the color, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you. And that's why typically I might pick up like a random off color evangel or an ancient manual, because to be honest with you, despite how wide this format is, I actually feel like I'm cutting more cards than I am trying to find playables in most decks. And so, which is a nice change, because obviously in the previous formats we were struggling for playables, and I'm not sure if it's just the way I draft or how I evaluate, but there have been plenty of times where I'm even cutting cards during the draft. I still end up having to make a couple of cuts at the end of the draft. So I'm a little more flexible, or willing to make those flex slot picks, you know?
Yeah. I
Uh,
have to make a lot of cuts at the end.
yeah, so I mean, that's my opinion. I feel like if you typically end up having to make a lot of cuts, then you could probably start adjusting your draft priorities a little bit and be a little more loose with certain picks. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not passing up really good cards, but when it's like a medium card and a medium card and then maybe like a flexible card, then I might skip on a medium card to take a flexible card, you know?
That sounds like a good plan. I'm learning something today.
Man, we all are, trust me. I'm still learning. All right, well, let's go ahead and dive into some card specific or faction specific cards, and we'll talk about those a little bit, like some front runners, some hidden gems, and then we will go into a couple of like stats or mechanic things that I'd like to talk about, and we'll wrap it up there. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
All right, so let's go into time first, because of course that's the elephant in the room, right? So commons and uncommons. We'll just talk about commons and uncommons, considering this is limited. So where you're at on time?
Time is a very easy faction to go into because it has it has the best common probably. It's like between that and draw strength. So
Yeah.
it's really easy for me to be in time.
And which one are you talking about, just for our listeners?
The Grodov's favored, the 6/5.
Yes, 6/5
Yes.
giant at common for 6 and a time, and summon you may silence another unit. And yeah, this card is absolutely great. It's a huge body. The silence is so relevant in this format because of all the exalted and the flyers running around, and it's only a single faction, so it's easily splashable. Yeah, this card is just absolutely. It's deceptively good.
It is very deceptively good. It's like the most impactful common 6-drop, I think, that I've seen like in a long time. It's so powerful, even though it's just seems like such a big dork, you know?
Well, I mean, the thing is that they put silence on it because of exalted, but the fact of the matter is that's one of the biggest problems that you typically see when you play these big dumb units, is that yeah, you're fine, you have the biggest unit on the board, but then your opponent plays a flyer or two and they're just, you're stuck in a board stall and they're hitting you in the air. But the fact that Grodov's favored silences a unit means that that's not the case anymore. You could sit there with a 3/3 flyer and beat your opponent, and then they drop a Grodov's favor and they're like, hey, not only does your guy not fly anymore, but I also have a giant unit that could stop the rest of your board.
There's a lot of juicy silence targets. It's just a great ability these days.
So that, of course, yeah, I think everyone is on par with that being the best common of the set. Draw strength is good, but of course, Senator did mention it on his stream because we had that discussion, is at the end of the day, draw strength has its limitations based on board stall or board state, as well as having a unit to play it, versus Grodov's favor is just always good.
Always good. I mean, you need six, power to get there, but Seems to not be a problem to be able to get to 6.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I've been probably about 80% of the time been running 18 power, 19 power in my decks.
Yeah, and even like I mostly run 17, but even with that, the board usually gets stalled with enough time for him or her to come down, even with 17 power.
Yeah, I agree. So, and needless to say, that's a big time. That's a big card to go into time for, which is funny considering it's a common. But yeah, she's just an absolute all star in this format. Another card for me that I think people didn't. I don't even remember how I viewed it. I think I still gave it a decent review on my set review. It's been a minute, but is Spiketail Kieran. This is the 2/2 Kieran at common for 2 and a time, and it reads pay 6 to give Spiketail Kieran a +4/+4 this turn, so it becomes a 6/6 for a turn, and then Mastery 6, so it can either get in there 3 times or get pumped or pump itself to activate it right off the bat. Give your units your units get a +1/+1. This includes itself and anything else in play. It is a one-time deal, but it is permanent, so it won't retroactively pump anything you play after, like an Anthem effect, but anything that's on the board will maintain that +1/+1 even after Spiketail Kieran dies. And this card is just absolutely great for me. Like, it's a 2/2 for 2 that's easy to play. If your opponent doesn't have a way to deal with it, it could just keep getting in there and slowly threaten to get bigger. And then late in the game, and you got nothing else to do, you just sink your power into it, and then you have a 6/6 attacker. Like, this card is awesome. I think it's extremely overperformed for me and against me as well.
I mean, it's a great 2-drop early or late. It's just a great card. Like you said, late game you can pump, you can double pump even after and that's just a huge. What is it? A 10/10 coming at you if you double pump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, what else are you gonna do with your power?
Yeah, I think any 2-drop that forces a removal spell from your opponent is a 2-drop worth playing.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it changes the board state. Like, when your opponent has one of these on the board and they're able to attack or not attack, like, you're counting their power every turn to see when they get to 6. And you're like, okay, can I handle this 6/6 coming, or this 6/6 coming at me? And can I kill it? Can I not kill it? Because if I don't kill it, then it'll pump the rest of the team. Like, it's really interesting gameplay coming from a simple 2-drop.
And then Time is just a really good faction because you have the 3-drop, then the other Kieran, which is a solid unit as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lot of 4-drops in the curated packs. The Flying Silencer, the 1/4.
Mm-hmm. The Curator, yeah.
I'm not sure if that's a weighted common or not, but I seem to see a lot of that card.
So actually, let's talk about the other Kieran, because I actually beg to differ. I feel like I'm off the beaten path on this one. You're talking about Zoltan Brushfang, correct? The 1/2?
No, the 2/4 3-drop.
Oh yeah. No, I like Swaying Sea Kieran. Yeah, I like that card. I think that card's good, but I mean, no surprise, right? Watchful Monero is a 2/4 has been around forever, and it's done good in every draft format. So, but
even you never trigger the muster, which when you do, it's like, it feels so awesome when you do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Zoltan Brushfang, I know a lot of people are high on that thing. I'm actually not. I think more often than not, it takes too much work to give it deadly. I mean, if you're able to trigger this guy's mastery to mastery 4, like, I feel like you're already winning the game. So, I mean, that's just me though.
I mean, I did some experiments with that guy. He's fun when he hits and you can boost him and he becomes big quick.
Mm-hmm.
Your opponent pretty much, it's like they scoop.
Yeah, but once again, like, it's a win more situation, at least in my
Exactly.
opinion.
I've come down on that guy a lot.
All right, cool. Moving right along, we have Justice. All right, so obviously draw strength, strongest card in Justice, and probably second strongest card in the set. And this is a fast spell at common for 1 in a Justice. Give one of your units +1/+1 this turn for each enemy unit. So obviously, it does absolutely amazing things in board stalls. or if you're going up against go wide strategies, and decimate the top 3 units of your deck, get a +1/+1. So, I mean, it's kind of funny because you and I are into limited, so we hear all the chatter about all these cards, but I have to remember that not necessarily everyone that listens to the show hears all that chatter. So this card is good. This card is really good.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean, it needs to be nerfed probably, right?
I mean, I don't know, because it's busted in limited, but there could have been a chance that it was designed for constructed, and in constructed it's just really seeing attention in one deck. So I don't know, it's hard to say sometimes, because
it's such a blowout for one justice that it's not much to leave up for a very powerful effect.
yes.
But I mean, it's a great card. I'm going to play it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the thing is that even if you're just getting like a +2/+2 out of it, sometimes you could just decimate and still add 3/3 worth of stats to the top of your deck. Like, it's pretty darn good.
Yeah, I mean, I've used it for +1/+1 to win a single combat and then decimate. Yeah, it's pretty versatile. And if you don't have any +1/+1, you're winning that game, So it's like you're not ever going to be stuck where you can't use it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. 'Cause even a +1/+1 will be helpful or useful,
Yeah, and exactly there's a little bit of tension when you have to play it in your earlier turns, when you're like trying to decide, okay, do I decimate with 4 power or do I not? And I think it also boils down to how many you have in your deck. When you have that deck that I had 4, I was more inclined to not decimate until I got up to 5-6 power, because I knew I have 3 more left in my deck, versus if I had 1, you might be a little bit pushed to try to get the max value out of that 1. But the other problem too is that because everyone knows what a good combat trick it is, and it does only cost 1, that unless you're in Combre and people have to maybe put you on metal, 9 out of 10 times everyone's going to see the draw strength in your hand. So, but hey, sometimes you just can't play around it. When it's a stalled board state and your draw strength gives like a +7/+7, there's just nothing you can do. Sometimes you just have to eat it.
Yeah, you just like a creature swinging that you can't block, because whatever blocks it is just going to get obliterated. It's just, yeah, it's a great card. Have you adjusted now in that deck that you had 4 draw strengths? Did you put was that like a 19 power deck because of the decimate, or?
Yes, it was. Yeah, I 100% was planning on decimating more than 1, so I was like, I'm gonna go extra power to make sure I hit it, and I feel less bad about decimating early should I feel the need to. Because if you're able to decimate twice, now the top 3 units of your deck have a +2/+2. That's huge.
Yeah, all of a sudden the 1/1 flyer that gives something flying is a 3/3. Yeah.
2/4, 2/1, 2/1.
No, the 1/1 for 1 that when it enters the play.
The prancing. Oh yeah, prancing griffin.
Yeah, I had a 3/3 one of those because of a double draw strength.
Oh wow. Yeah, and let me go ahead and touch on that card since we brought it up. I actually think, don't get me wrong, this card is not amazing. The Prancing Griffin is a 1/1 Griffin at common for 1 Justice, so 1/1 flyer for 1. And then summon, you may give another unit flying this turn. I actually think this card does more work than meets the eye. And
yeah, you can get your Grodob's favored flying, late game.
Yeah, exactly. The ability to give one of your units flying, it ends up doing huge things. We'll talk about later, but Berserk is in this format. So you can pump a Berserk unit, give it flying for the turn, and then trigger the Berserk so it attacks twice that turn and just get in for a ton of damage. It can help you get the last mastery trigger on your mastery units. And then, if you just have a big beater on the ground that's just sitting there not doing anything, you drop the Griffin, and all of a sudden it can get over and get a ton of damage in. I think the Griffin is another kind of sleeper. Don't get me wrong, it's not absolutely backbreaking. I don't think it's an amazing card, but it actually does more work than I think people initially thought.
Yeah, I like it for helping enable mastery. Yeah, I like one in the deck. It seems good or okay. Yeah, it's gone up for me too. I thought it was at first.
Well, and the good thing is that because everyone's so low on it, you can get these extremely late, so you're not even wasting a good pick on it.
Yeah, totally. Last pick even.
Yep. What are your thoughts on Inflict Conscience? This one, I definitely have changed my view on it over the course of the format. This is the curse at common for 1 and a justice, and it reads, when the curse unit deals damage, kill it.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay, I think. I mean, justice doesn't have too much removal, so you got to use what you got to use sometimes. It's probably like a C minus, right? I don't know. What do you think about it?
I've actually come up on it, believe it or not. And the reason being is, yes, the opponent can somewhat choose when they want their unit to die, but the fact that in most cases it completely stops a big unit or a flyer from attacking at all makes it pretty good one power removal. Like, that's the thing. It's only one power that you're spending to take out like a Grodov's Favored. You know, if you have a Grodov's Favored that's sitting there on the ground beating on you, you throw Inflict Conscience on it. All of a sudden, your opponent has to decide, like, no, I don't want to block their 2/2 to lose my Grodov's Favor. I want to trade up, and it's not going to attack because, yeah, sure, you can block or not block. It works great with reckless units. I've put it. Somebody, I forgot what they did, but they made this giant reckless flyer, and so I just put Inflict Conscience on it, and it attacked me and died. You know what I mean? It got in for 5 in the air and then died. It killed itself.
Yeah.
So I actually am higher on this card than initially thought. Plus, like, Argenport and Huru are both curse factions, and it is a curse, so there's some synergy there. So I think this card is better than I initially thought. Now, am I running 3 of them in a deck? Probably not. Probably 2 is what I want. I initially thought maybe 1 was fine, but I am up on it. I think 2 is good, especially if you're in like Rakano. So now you have some direct damage to be able to or Huru, where you're able to deal a little bit of incidental damage and kill it. Like, that's really good as well. You slap this on like one of their big units of their flyer. You use Temper from the Berserk unit to deal 1 damage to it and kill it. Like, now you're feeling pretty darn good about yourself. Like, yeah, this card's good.
Does it die when it takes damage?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You're totally right. Thank you so much. Thank you. My bad. I was thinking of the other card, but you're right. Thank you for correcting me. And I'm not going to...
That one dies when the unit deals damage, then it dies, right?
Yeah, no. This one works with the Reckless Curse. I'm sorry. That's what I was thinking of. So I apologize.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Yes, because they're both in the format. There's Fragility, which is the other curse that, yes, when they take damage, they die. But there's also the Reckless Curse in the format. So if worst case scenario, you can slap a Reckless on their big guy, slap this on it, and then block with your 2/2 or whatever.
Yes. It's on the Cobalt coin. Is it on the card itself too?
Yes. There's the Decimate Primal card that.
Oh yeah.
It gives them Reckless, and then if you decimate, it deals 2 damage to the Reckless unit.
Gotcha.
Let me turn it up real quick. I'll look for it real quick just to get the name out there. Yeah, I got ahead of myself. Thanks for keeping me in check.
Oh, no problem. That's a
Cruelty. There you go.
Actually,
Cruelty.
An okay muster trigger if you absolutely need one.
Yeah, we'll talk about muster a little bit later. The last 2 cards I want to talk about is Hexcaster. This card is actually, once again, for the curse synergies. This card actually does some work, and I think it goes by extremely late in most drafts, and that's why I felt the need to mention it, because I'm not burning a high pick on it, but I don't need to, and this card seems to overperform every time I'm in Huru or Argenport. Hexcaster is a 2/2 mage at uncommon for 3 and a justice, and when you play a curse, draw a justice sigil from your deck. So this guy pretty much draws you a card, and it's a 3-drop, so it comes down early. And in a format and in a color where you have decimate, the extra sigils work wonders. Like, one, they make sure you get to your 6 and 7 drops. It makes sure that you have extra power to decimate away. and it takes power out of your deck, so you have a higher chance of drawing gas. I think Hexcaster is better than it seems as well. It's worked. It's overperformed for me. Granted, I put it kind of low, it being a 2/2 for 3, but believe it or not, if you're able to activate this guy like 2 times, you kind of feel like you're on top of the world. Like, you're not going to miss your power drops. You're getting value out of the cards you wanted to play anyways. And I think that's the biggest thing about Hexcaster, is that there's torture, there's inflict conscience, there's mistrust, there's curses in the format that you would have played anyways without curse synergies. So you're just getting additional value from this guy.
Now, does it go under the radar, or is it like a lightning rod? Like, do people realize how powerful it is for that deck?
Oh no, I've never seen anyone kill it ever.
Right, it just sits there, right?
Yep. Yeah, it completely, like, but
it's kind of what you need to get that deck rolling, you know?
I think so.
It just gives you the power that you need.
I think so. I think it, like I said, it's done a lot more work for me than I even thought it would. But I think that might be it too. You're right. I think most people just look at it and they're like, well, it's a 2/2 for 3. I really don't want to burn a removal spell on it. And they're like, how many more curses could they have? But like I said, I mean, sometimes just drawing 1 sigil is enough to bridge the gap into the late game. But if you draw 2 sigils off this guy, you really do. You feel like you've just done it. You're like, you totally just wrecked your opponent somehow.
And like, well, increasing the chance of drawing gas, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it seems good. I think I want to try that card now.
All right, and the last card I want to talk about, which I've still been trying to experiment with, and the verdict is still out on it, is Kodosh Sees All. This is the cursed relic at uncommon for 7 Justice, right? So super late game. At the start of the cursed player's turn, play a griffin with flying and attack and health equal to the number of curses on the cursed player and their units. So it does include themselves as well as their units. So it counts cursed relics, it counts itself. So at bare minimum, it'll give you a 1/1 flyer at the beginning of their turn. I think that's what kind of made me want to try it out, is the fact that you're getting it. So at the very least, you're getting a blocker. Typically in these kind of effects, you have to wait till the start of your next turn. So it's kind of a do nothing artifact. But the fact that you're getting at very least a 1/1 blocker on their turn, I think is quite relevant. And then if nothing happens to it, it's a griffin that can attack on your very next turn. I think it has some worth to it. What do you think? Have you experimented with this card at all?
I have not got to try that card, but I have lost to it.
Oh, really? Do you have any details about that? Like, was it just making 1/1s? Did the board stall? Did they go all in on curses? What's up?
It was making 2/2s, and that was enough to beat me. So it's like, and even if it would have been 1/1s, they would have just piled up and got me. So I think I want to try that card. It's just kind of intimidating with how expensive it is.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. The cost is what turned me off of it. But in a especially if you're like Combre, where you like board stall so much, I wanted to see if it could be the board breaker, the stall breaker. So
yeah, it was in the game that I lost. It was definitely the board stall breaker.
All right, so let's move on to Primal. And for me, obviously, one of the ones that I think was on a lot of people's radars, and actually it was maybe a little bit lower because of the cost, but actually has once again performed quite well, is Sky Horror Draconis. This is the 4/5 Flying Nightmare Dragon at common for 7 and a Primal, and has Mastery 5, play Permafrost on an enemy unit. So the thing about this guy is, yes, it's 7, and yes, you do have to adjust your deck to make sure you can get up to 7. But the fact that the Mastery is only 1 more than its current attack is what I've found out both playing with and against it, is that in most decks it's fairly easy to get that extra power on it before it attacks. So the very first time it attacks, you're able to trigger that Permafrost and take out so it's removal on an evasive fly, like on an evasive unit. So it's actually really good, and I think the 5 health makes it harder to kill as well in this format. So Draconis actually does a lot more work. I think the 7 cost is the hardest part about it, but if you get up to 7, I think it's gonna definitely reward you.
It's feel pretty good when you put that dragon down. Like, if they don't have a way to answer it, you're gonna do pretty good that game. By far the best primal common.
How many would you want in your deck? 2, 3, 4?
No, I was gonna say 1 or 2. Like, how many do you need, really? You know, it's you don't want too many 7-drops, that's for sure. I would probably cap it at 2, unless I don't know. How many have you played? What's the most?
I think I might have played 3 because I just needed like top end. And they actually go by pretty late, is what I've noticed. To be honest with you, most of the time when I get them super late. But I'm with you. I think I'd be happy with 2. I think 2 is what I want, because I do like the dragon synergies in this format as well. So that kind of adds a couple of points to it.
Blue's like the side dragon. It's mostly Stone Scar, right?
As far as no, it would be Found.
Is it Felm? But I mean, like, all those 3 colors are evenly distributed with the dragons. Isn't that the only blue dragon?
Oh no, yes. I got what you're saying. Yes, it is the only blue dragon. So yeah, there's light support for dragons in Primal. The majority of it is Stone Scar.
Gotcha. Okay.
What other primal ups or downs do you have? For example, the Rose Bloom Mandrake with the whole mill deck. I mean, I've had that thing come down for 2 power on me, but I'll be honest with you, I think that's happened twice, and I didn't lose either of those games.
It seems like to have been going up for me. Now, I haven't played it much, or it could be not too hard for a player to have 10 cards in there. Not their graveyard in there. Is it their graveyard? Sorry.
Yeah,
the void.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, even late game, a 6, is it a 6/6 for 2? It's okay. In the discard deck, it's great. But I would say it's okay if you're not trying to make yourself or your opponent discard stuff. It's pretty meh. There's not really much blue reasons to go into blue early,
But let's see what else. How do you feel about the Fear Stroker Raven, the 05 bird at uncommon for 4 and primal, as flying? I think I said that. And then at the end of each turn, if a player discarded a card, doesn't matter if it's you or them, Fear Stroker Raven gets a +2 attack.
Yeah, I like that guy. Even if you're not in the discard deck, it's not too hard to trigger it even once. And then a 2/5 for 4 can start attacking. A 0/5 pretty much blocks a lot of things. Yeah, most things. So that card's pretty good. But it's an uncommon, right?
No. Yes, it is. Sorry, it is uncommon. I think it combos very well. I mentioned it earlier with the Wretch Raven, which is the 1/4 flying bird at common for 3 Felm, and when it attacks, the enemy player discards the top 2 cards of their deck. And it's great because Raven comes down on 3, then the Fear Stroker Raven comes down on 4. You attack, and you immediately make it a 2/4 or a 2/5.
Yep, it's a good play.
Yeah, and then heaven forbid, like, your opponent plays like the 3/3. They're playing Feln as well, and they mill themselves with like the 3/3 that mills, so your guy gets bigger as well. Like, it's that card is good. Like you said, the 05 will block a lot of things, and if you're able to trigger it once, you're pretty happy. You're able to trigger it twice. Now you have a 4/5 flyer that you paid 4 for. Like, you can't complain about that.
No, and that's like the conundrum of the discard deck. When it's worked for me, it's like I was killing them in the air at around the same time they're running out of cards. So it's like, what is it really doing? Am I trying to kill them with flyers, or trying to mill them out? It seems like the best mill decks are the ones with that flying, the 1/4 for sure.
Yeah, I drafted the mill deck one time, like where I was dedicated. Yes, I'm the mill deck, and
Uh,
the exact same thing that you just described happened to me, where I think I won one game by milling, and the other games I won by like I was milling them, but it was just I just ended up killing them. Like,
yeah, where like you would have milled them a couple more turns, but they just died to the flying. You
mm-hmm.
know.
Yep. So, and I think it might also be like because the mill is somewhat viable in this format. I don't necessarily know how viable because I don't go after it all that often. I don't see it that often. That maybe sometimes people start freaking out when you start milling them. You know what I mean? Where they're like, well, you know, if you take two millazes, like all of a sudden now you start looking at your library or your deck. So you're like, I think I'm gonna prioritize killing the mill stuff, and then just the evasive units end up doing the job. You know?
Yes.
Yep. Is there anything else that you want to mention about Primal before we move on?
Um. No, it's just the saddest color for me, I think.
Yeah. Well, while we're on it, real quick, have you tried Muster at all?
I mean, yeah, I've tried Elysian a little bit, and it seems like when it hits, it works really good, but when it doesn't, it's very underwhelming. Um, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Muster.
Yeah, I think the problem with Muster is that you get your enablers in packs 2 and 3, and the packs are so random that you're not guaranteed to get them because there was one time where I ended up picking up like 2 empaths and 3 of the 2/4 Kirans. I was like, sure, let me try it, right? And it just I only had 2 spellcraft weapons, and it just wasn't enough. Like the whole like play an attachment and play a spell on the same turn is just not that feasible. Like you can't be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna run 9 spells and 9 curses, or like 5 curses and 3 weapons. It's exactly what I talked about previously, where trying to do both those things on a turn where they're both relevant is just too difficult of setup. Plus you have to draw the cards, you have to have your muster cards in play. Like yeah, it's all about having a critical mass of spellcraft weapons, and it's just not a thing. Like I think most people in the community as a whole are off of it. Like every once in a while you might incidentally get like one muster off, but I just don't think it's there, because you can even prioritize muster cards in pack 1 and then just not see enablers in 2 and 3, and then you may or may not see them on the payoffs in pack 4. Like it's just there's not enough support for it.
Yeah, I had a Muster deck that worked so good that I milled myself out with the 3/5.
Yeah, the draw 2 cards. No kidding.
Yeah, in a board stall that I couldn't get through, and then I couldn't not activate that trigger. It went off, and I died.
Oh man, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I wish I had been like recording it. That'd be like a great This like the misplay. This is bad.
All right,
Like,
let's move on to Shadow then. We've already talked about earlier. We have Immortalized. That card's absolutely great. Like, there's absolutely no reason for you to not put it in any deck that's running Shadow. We did talk about the mill deck, but prioritize, take like 2 Malazes. Calamity of Oracle is the 1/3 Elf Shaman that when you play a curse, the enemy player discards the top 5 cards of their deck. That's quite relevant. That's kind of strong. The support for that is that you have Unkindness and Torture being curses that you want to play in any deck anyways, and so they kind of help that. Shadow has the best removal in the form of, I think personally, in Torture as well as Fel Ritual.
which works so good with Immortalize.
Yeah, Fel Ritual, putting a 5/5 dragon into your Fel Ritual is a uncommon slow spell for 4 Shadow. It says kill a unit. That's it. Plain and simple. Kills, point, shoot, dead. And then create a 5/5 Nihil Draconis with flying and lifesteal. Put it into your void. So obviously the trick there is that you have like Immortalize or some way, a Dark Return or a Surgeon's Saw, to get that 5/5 out of the void and get it into play and start doing some work. Where are you at on things like, let's go ahead and talk about Blood of Makar and Befoul?
I come down on those a little bit. When it was in 6.9, and I was really trying to push that card and use it a lot, but it really is a win more card. I'm not too huge on it anymore.
Okay, so Blood of Makar, my mistake, is a cursed relic at uncommon for 4 and a shadow. It says when one of your units hits the cursed player, it gets a +2 attack permanently. And then Befoul is a slow spell at uncommon for 4 and a shadow. Sacrifice 2 units to play a 7/6 Banewolf. Banewolf has Mastery 7, unblockable. And then if there are 10 or more cards in the enemy void, play an additional Banewolf. So you get 2 Banewolves for the price of 1 Befoul, should your opponent have 10 or more cards in their void. So you're down on Blood of Makar, which I think a lot of people are in general. I think the format is just slightly less aggressive, and so you're not really, unless you're kind of like Stone Scar Onis or something like that, where you're bashing into your opponent. Like Blood of Makar just isn't doing as much as you want it to, or maybe if you're like Feln Flyers, that could do some work. But once again, you're right. It kind of sits in that slightly. I don't think it's 100% win more card, but it does kind of fit in that little niche, you know, because you have to be able to make contact with your opponent's face. So
I mean, it worked really good with Unkindness still. You know, if you can get down.
Yeah,
I like doing that still. So I'm not opposed to playing it. It's just like a very specific archetype now. Befoul, I still like Befoul.
How many would you put in your deck?
Probably just 1.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think 1 is perfect because sometimes you will play it early just to get a 7/6 out, you know, especially if you're kind of built for the sack deck. So you have a couple of 1/1 wisps that you're willing to sacrifice, and your opponent can't answer that. But most of the time, you mainly just want it to be a finisher. You cash in your 2/2s that aren't doing anything for, you know, a 7/6 or hopefully 2 7/6s.
Yeah, totally.
How do you feel about the Faceless one? The 2/1 cultist at common for 1 and a shadow. So a 2/1 for 1, but Faceless one can't block. And then if you have a shadow influence, if Faceless one is discarded, play it from your void.
I've never played that guy.
Yep, same here.
Even when I had a discard deck,
in
a deck where he would go out of your hand, I was like, I didn't put him in that deck.
Yep.
I don't like not being able to block.
How about Dread Hellkite? The 4/3 flying deadly. Dread Hellkite can't block yet again. Summon, play Cowardice on an enemy unit, which means the unit cannot block. And then is a 4/3 flying deadly for 4 shadow.
It's like a good card in a super aggro deck, and that's it. Pretty much.
Yeah, the can't block clause is so relevant. Like, I can't tell you, initially when I first started playing against it, I would always like groan because they'd play it. I'm like, well, great, my guy can't attack, or my guy can't block, and I can't attack into him because the thing has deadly. And I'm like, wait a minute, it also can't block. Oh, screw it. All right, I'll just attack. Like,
it's such a weird unit, deadly, but it can't block. It's weird, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a very interesting build. I think I have lost this card, but like you said, it's like in a Stone Scar aggressive deck or some kind of like low to the ground Argent Port or something like that. So I have lost this card, but more often than not, like there have been plenty of times where my opponent has played it and it's just lost them the game. I'm like, sweet, you just time walked yourself. Okay.
Not being able to block it, it stays on it, right? On the creature. Yeah.
Let's see. How do you feel about? Ooh, actually, one of the cards that's come up for me is Marsh Dragon. I think Marsh Dragon, the 3/1 Nightmare Dragon at common for 5 and a shadow, has flying. Summon. You may sacrifice another unit to gain health equal to the number of units in your void, and give Marsh Dragon that much health. This card is sometimes it's been medium, but then sometimes it's just surprised the heck out of me. Like sometimes you play this thing and it's like a 3/7 that gained you 6 life.
It's a good card.
Yeah, I really like this card. I think I would probably be okay playing 3, probably sit at about 2 of them, because obviously the later the game goes on, the better this card gets. But I mean, man, this card does a lot more work than you would think, and I think we should have evaluated it a little differently at the fact that it started as a 3/1 for 5. you obviously have to expect Direwolf to sit there and like play with these cards and play test and like tweak their stats and their costs based on how their play testing goes. So sometimes when you see a card that's understated like this, it typically means it performs better than you think.
It's very splashable too.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, very much so. It's great. It's great coming out of the board or the void as well. If you're able to trigger this the first time, make it like a 3/5, and then they kill it, and then you immortalize it, and you get to trigger it again. Like, oh my god! Plus, it has exalted.
It's somehow exalted. That's a great weapon to be putting on something.
Yeah, I think
that's probably the second best shadow common, right? After immortalize.
Yeah, I could get behind that. That or torture, I think.
And then the Makar Wolf. See, they have like the best overall commons, probably.
Yeah, because Makar Evangel and Makar Wolf Blood Wolf are both really good as well. The 2/2 quick draw and the 2/3 lifesteal and mastery 6. Yeah, they're both great.
Torture's really good. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Cinder Dragon, the 4/4 flying nightmare dragon at common for 6 fire shadow?
It's the Stone Scar. It's a good finisher for that deck.
Yeah,
it's the same dragon that gets made from the Toda.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a moment. I just wanted to finish off this cycle. And then what about Nahid's Faithful? This is the 2/1 cultist at common for 1 Xenon, so 1-time shadow. It has lifesteal, and then summon. You may sacrifice another unit to give Nahid's Faithful +2/+2. So a 4/3 lifesteal. Build your own Hojin.
I haven't had success with the Xenon deck so much. The cultist deck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't. Well, I mean, like, I just haven't been like led that way. Have you had that one work for you?
Because of the fact that I prioritize the 2/4 Kieran that we talked about in pack 1, as well as Grodov's Favored, I've actually been in every combination of Xenon of time. So I have played the Xenon deck, and this guy actually isn't too bad. The thing is, I think you have to be kind of willing to play him as a 2/2 sometimes, and then if you're able to immortalize him later and then make him a 4/3 by cashing in one of your 2 drops, like, he's better. And then obviously if you play him like somewhere around turn 5 or 6, you make him a 4/3 and then you immortalize him again. Like, the lifesteal is what really sets him over the top. Like, if it wasn't lifesteal and it was just a 4/3, I'd be less impressed, because obviously Direwood Thorn Beast does significantly better job. But the fact that it has lifesteal makes it a little difficult. It still is vulnerable. There's plenty of removal in the format that takes it out, to include Conflagrate, but this card, it's a little bit better than you think it is in some cases. And then if
it's a 4/3 lifesteal, that's pretty powerful.
And then of course it's a cultist, so Xenon has those cultist synergies. So yeah. All right. Moving on to fire. Let's go ahead and talk about the Cinder Maw Toda, because I think that card was low for a lot of people, and I'll be honest with you, I love this card. I've increased its priority for me a lot, and here I'll tell you why. The Cinder Maw Toda is the 0/4 Totemite at common for 4 and a fire. Your dragons and treasure troves cost 1 less. Treasure trove isn't that important. The dragon clause actually has come into play, because sometimes you'll be able to play that Cinder Maw dragon on turn 5 instead of turn 6, which is huge. The other part of it, as well as there's a 7-cost dragon at uncommon, as well as a 7-cost dragon at rare that has, this has helped power it out earlier. And then the Entomb, so when Cinder Maw Toda dies, create and draw a 4/4 Cinder Dragon with flying. One thing I do want to mention is that it does not have the Stone Scar influence requirement when you get it off of the Cinder Maw Toda. It is completely neutral. And the other thing is, fire is one of the 2 sack matters decks, or 3, I guess, because it's Xenon and Stone Scar and Praxis. So Praxis. So the fact that it will block plenty of things, and then your opponent doesn't want to give you the dragon, so they're going to try to not kill it, right? Where in some cases they would just kill the 0/4 and push through. And if it dies, you're happy because you get a dragon. And if it doesn't, then it saved you a ton of life. And then obviously it's great cannon fodder for sacrifice outlets. Should you be able to recur this guy and then give him exalt, like this guy does a lot more work than you think he does. I think it's a linchpin in the sack deck, in my opinion.
I think it's still underrated. If you don't have sack outlets, your opponent can play around it a little bit. Where like they're not going to give you the dragon. Basically, they'll give you the dragon at the last possible moment.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have sack outlets, like the Soul's Fury is at the 4 damage. That card's gone, especially with that Totema. Totemite, however you say that.
Yes, Soul's Fury is a slow spell for 2 and a fire. Sacrifice a unit to deal 4 damage to an enemy, so face or unit. The other thing is we're also in the faction that has dramatic exit, so you can easily make Cinder Maw Tota a 4/4, swing with it, and whether your opponent blocks it or not, it's gonna die, giving a +4/+4 weapon to one of your other units, and still giving you a dragon.
It's a spicy play.
Yeah, that card is so good. Like it's probably my pet card of the set now.
Especially with that card right there, that's a great combo.
Yeah. Let's see. What's another? Warhorn. +2/+2 weapon at common for 4 and a fire. When the wielder hits the enemy player, create and draw a 2/2 Oni Grunt. This card is great.
Done a lot of work for me, for sure.
Yeah, it can steam.
It's probably the best fire common. Do you think up there?
Like I said, now I might even make the argument about Cinder Maw Tota, but you're probably right.
The Tota, that's right. No, that's pretty good. But fire has a lot of good cards too.
Yep. The Razor Wire Totemite has gone down for me. I think now the 1/1 exalted units, and it might just be all the silence in the format. I don't know, but I don't think it's as strong as I initially thought.
Agreed. I mean, sometimes you need that sacrifice fodder for your Soul Furies, but it gets cut now.
Desperate Gambit is the fast spell. Give one of your units +2/+1 this turn for 2 and a fire. And then Decimate, give an additional unit +2/+1 this turn. This card's good. This card's a good trick. The +1 health actually is quite relevant. It helps save a lot of your guys in combat, and the fact that you can +2 things, I think that's one of the interesting things about these Decimate cards that help you do 2 things. Most of the time people are going to play around one combat trick, and so they'll do like double blocks and like block 2 things and do all this stuff to kind of like, all right, well, something's gonna die. But then you could Desperate Gambit and Decimate to pump both units, and then all of a sudden like it's a complete blowout.
And even just 2/1 for 2 bonus at its floor is serviceable. So yeah, it's very, very powerful effect to be able to do it twice.
How do you feel about Skyfire Hellkite, the 7/4 flying Nightmare Dragon at uncommon for 7 fire, and then summon each of your units deals 1 damage to the enemy player?
I'm happy to put 1, maybe 2 in the deck. Kind of like the Draconis.
Yeah, I love this card. I think this card is a great finisher. That being said, though, I am more inclined to put only 1 in my deck because of the fact that 4 health sometimes is a liability. I'm not gonna lie. A 7/4 will end the game a lot in short order, but it's a lot more vulnerable than a 4/5.
Agreed.
I mean, what's it done for you?
Well, for me, it's worked. It's also gotten killed by the deal 4 damage to an attacking creature.
Yeah, lightning strike.
Yeah. So like you said, it dies to a lightning strike. And there's quite a bit of flyers going around, so you can like double block it. Pretty fragile, but if the coast is clear, it sweeps the board pretty fast. It's gonna kill your opponent.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, typically when it comes down, it's going to do somewhere between 4 to 7 damage, and then it's a 7 attack, so it will end the game very quickly. It must be answered, but it is vulnerable to answers.
Yeah.
A card that's gone up for me is Burning Claw, the 6/5 uncommon Oni for 5 fire. So it comes down a turn sooner than Grodov's Favored, but with the same stats. And then when one of your other Oni dies, draw each weapon it was wielding from your void. So if you guys remember Axe Sharpener, which is the 2/3 Minotaur that has a similar effect except for itself, this guy gives it to all your Onis, and that was a powerful effect, and it still proves to be a powerful effect now, where you're able to kind of put all your weapons upgrading your like 2 and 3 drop Onis and just start swinging with them, and then if they die, you're like, whatever, I'm gonna get them back.
Even if you don't have units that are dying that have weapons on them that you're drawing from the void, Audit's Floor, it's a 6/5 for 5, which is overstated, so that's just a great card.
So you've had pretty good experiences with it as well?
Yeah, very good experiences.
Sweet.
Even if it's just a 6/5 for 5.
All right, the last card I want to talk about, unless you have are there any more cards you want to talk about before we move on to like generalizations?
The 2/1 Oni that pumps everything, all the weapons and units in your hand, is a pretty good 2-drop.
Warbrush Oni is a 2/1 Oni common for 2 and a fire, and summon each unit and weapon in your hand gets a +1 attack. Yeah, I like this card. I agree with you. I think what sets it apart from Chant of Grodov for me is the fact that it has a body attached to it. I don't like Chant of Grodov because if you draw it late, it does nothing. Versus Oni Warbrush, yeah, it's absolutely amazing if you play it on turn 2 with like 2 units and a weapon in your hand. But if you draw it late, it's still a body.
Still, yeah, it's hitting the battlefield. It's gonna block for you, attack.
All right, the last card I want to talk about is Rujan's Choice. This is a fast spot uncommon for 2 fire justice, or Rakano, and it gives you the choice of give one of your units double damage this turn, or move a unit of your choice to the top of your deck. I like this card a lot. I probably will admit I value it higher than I probably should, or that most people do. But in a world with so much Berserk and just Rakano being very aggressive in this format, the double damage at fast speed is huge. Like sometimes you just, oops, I win. Like it's so good. And then the downside to cards like this typically is that you're like, hey, if you don't have the units, it doesn't do anything. Well, the other mode lets you go find your best unit. So like this card just is great. I like this card a lot, and I prioritize it quite highly. I've actually had to cut a bunch of these from my decks because I would take them early and then just not be able to, like, not be in either Rakano or be in Justice or Fire. So I'm like, all right.
Four in your board.
Yeah. But
I don't have much experience with that card, but I mean, you just sold it. I'm gonna try it now.
Well, here's the thing, right? If you go and look I'm gonna shameless plug here, but the very first draft video I made for Flames of Xulta, I ended up going Rakano, and there were several times where I won simply by like putting a weapon on the 2-drop, the Shavka Evangel, then giving it flying, or them not blocking, just attacking. They're like, I could take 2, right? Or I could take 4. And then I put like a Finest Hour on it and hit them with Rujan's Choice. And then all of a sudden they're taking 10.
Yeah, I had like similar experiences with the Combre Choice. What's your favorite choice? Is it Rujan's? It sounds like it.
Yeah, Rujan's Choice is my favorite choice, but I do agree the Combre Choice is quite powerful. I think all the choices are actually pretty decent. They're not backbreaking. Like obviously, I think Kairos, I think Combre, Kairos, what's Kairos? Amri. So Amri's Choice, Rujan's Choice, and Kairos' Choice I think are the strongest ones. But the other ones have done some work as well.
Yeah, like I've thrown it in the deck as like let's see how this works, and it's work. Like the Elysian one, even it saves you from a flyer. You know, they're pretty good.
I agree. All right, so that's gonna do it for our specific cards. Hopefully you got a little bit something out of that. Didn't want to go too in depth. We might save that for another podcast, but just kind of give you guys a scheme maneuver generalizations of some of the cards that we're looking at versus specific decks, because obviously decks are not going to look the same because the packs 2 and 3 are so big. couple of things I did want to mention, I kind of lightly touched on that with Regent's Choice, is Berserk. There is quite a bit of Berserk. I actually forgot the stat. I had it in my set or the initial set review, how many Berserk units are, but there's a significant amount of Berserk in the format, and it's more relevant than you think because of the amount of things like Rune Hammer and Warhorn that pump 2 and 3 attack on units, as well as Berserk units that have mastery and things like Regent's Choice and Finest Hour and draw strength. So I think the ability to just out of nowhere surprise your opponent with double digits worth of damage is something to have note and is a viable strategy in this format. There have been a couple of times with Rakano where I'm able to, my opponent's at like 12 or 14 and I get in some okay attacks, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, sure, I could take the extra 2 or let this slide by, or they don't have enough blockers or they don't want to risk their bigger unit dying to a combat trick, so they'll block like 2 things, let something through, and then all of a sudden I can draw strength, a Berserk unit, and so I give it a +6/+6, give it Berserk, and then now I'm swinging in for 12 and killing them. So it's
I think some of my opponents have been like gun shy because they're like killing the Berserk units before it even like can do anything. They're like, no, get that off the board. I don't want to deal with that later.
Yeah, so they've obviously went up against someone that just exploded on them.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like typically you can kind of telegraph when that's going to happen because you have to select Berserk or your double attack obviously before blocks are made. So if someone's berserking a unit, there's a good chance that something's going to go down. So that's where kind of Regent's Choice is kind of really good, because Regent's Choice, with Berserk, it's absolutely backbreaking, but Regent's Choice works fine on just a regular unit. Berserk just gives you the option of you have a Claim Artisan to pump attack, you have weapons, and so you're able to really capitalize. It's really good with Exalted, you know what I mean? So I think of note, Berserk is a little underrepresented in this format, and I think the archetype, if you can even call it a archetype, is something that Rakano or Stone Scar or Praxis players should be paying attention to. Because you could just, oops, I win all of a sudden, because that double damage is extremely relevant.
Yep.
And then Silence. Silence is huge in this format. So many mechanics, so many abilities going through. Exalted weapons afterwards. They try to give a unit flying. It might be already big, but you can silence it. It silences Warhorn. Silence is just absolutely huge. It's almost removal in this format.
Sometimes it's like the only removal you have, or you just got to use silence effects because you didn't really get the hard removal. But that tells you how powerful it is when it can work.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How are you prioritizing removal or silence in your picks?
It's gone up a lot. It's basically, like I said, it's a pseudo removal. Even I know a lot of players don't like it, but the 3 colorless that either kills a relic or silences a unit, which that's a pretty bad card, but I've included in my decks just for the silence effect.
I believe it's Disrupt. I'm not 100%. Let me double check real quick.
I think that's right.
So how do you feel about the Kasul Diplomat, the 1/1 for 2 that silences?
I put it in my deck.
Yeah, I like it too. I'll be honest with you. I like it too. Yeah. I think
but if it says silence, I like it. Like you said.
Granted, yes, it is Disrupt. I would play 1. I don't think I'd play 2. I think the 1/1 body is a little bit of a liability when you can get like a 2/1 weapon. You can get, a 1/4 flyer. You can get a 6/5. So. But you will make good use of silence effects in this format. The other thing is that removal is light. Part of it is because there's not a lot of removal in Flames of Xulta, and then obviously, like we've talked about several times on the show, you're not guaranteed to get the removal that is in packs 2 and 3 because of how big the pools are. So removal is very fine and should be prioritized in this format for sure.
Get what you can get.
Yeah, and then plus the fact that things like Immortalize at common is a thing in the format. You never feel like you have enough removal because you'll save that one removal spell, you'll kill the unit, and then a couple of turns later they bring it right back, and you're just like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Right. That's why silence again is so big.
Mm-hmm. All right, I think that's gonna do it for our first impressions. Do you have anything else you want to add, Darth Herman?
What's your favorite new mechanic?
Probably. I think Decimate. I think Decimate because it leads to some interesting decision points. You know what I mean? Versus like Mastery, there is some decision points as far as like when to trigger it, when not to. Like when do you want to sacrifice unit to stop Mastery, when you don't. But I think the more interesting one is for sure Decimate, especially earlier in the game when you're trying to figure out like, do I want to go down 1 power or not?
Yeah, balancing the effect versus the cost of losing the power.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very good skill testing mechanic. And so it's like sometimes it's hard to not decimate. Like if you experience that, we're like, I want to decimate so bad, but you have to be the adult in the room and not decimate and make the good decision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My rule of thumb is that I will only decimate if I am at the power that I want or more. If I am under the necessary power I have, then I won't decimate regardless.
Oh wow! No, I've done it more aggressively than that for sure.
I really hate like losing games to not making my power drops. That's why I typically err on the caution of having more power in my deck. And yeah. I've just, you do lose to flooding. Don't get me wrong, but at least you're able to play. Versus when you lose, when you're not able to play because you're stuck on power, you just feel like, it just feels so bad because you're like, I have 4 and 5 drops and units and cards and removal spells in my hand that could get me out of this, but I can't play them, so I'm just getting ran over. So for me, if I'm at 3 power and my deck wants to get to 5, I won't decimate. If I'm at 5 power and my deck wants to get to 6, I probably won't. I mean, that's a little shaky there. I probably would decimate just because I could still play the majority of my deck. That being said, though, the flip side to that is that we all know going from 5 to 6 power is not 1 turn. It's significantly more than that. So that's something I argue with. But yeah, as a rule of thumb, if I am under the power, then once again, if my deck does top out at 4 and I'm at 4, then I'll decimate. That's fine because I could just draw 1 other power. But if I'm under what my target top end is, then I won't decimate because it's just I have too high a variance of all of a sudden now I'll draw my 4 or 5 drop and not be able to play it for 4 or 5 turns.
Yeah.
And then I fall behind on tempo. So
I'll gamble sometimes if I need 1 more, with the low curve deck, I'll take the chance sometimes with the draw strength.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends. But yeah, typically you're at like 6 or 7 already power when you're decimating. But yeah, definitely my favorite new mechanic as well.
Yep. All right. So that will do it. Appreciate it. I mean, we're not done. You're still staying on the show. But yeah, appreciate your insight on the first impressions, brother. It definitely made it a nice exchange, having a conversation versus simply me just yapping about. Right.
We just get to talk about a game that we love, so it's all good. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely not bad, right? We could talk Eternal all day long. But all right, that's gonna move us into our what's the play. So what's the play this week? I will go ahead and describe it, and this time you get to tell me what you think you would do here. All right, Darth Herman?
All right.
So this one is off of my most recent draft. I drafted Feln. No specific brew of Feln, just Feln good stuff. Okay, my opponent is at 18 power or 18 life. We're at 25, so it's pretty early in the game. They're at 0 of 5 power in Stone Scar. So, or correction, Skycrag. So 0, 5, fire, and primal. We're at we're at 4 of 4 and primal shadow. Okay, opponent has 4 cards in hand. We have 4 cards in hand in the form of Blackguard Sidearm, the 2/1 quick draw weapon for 3, the Wretch Talon, I think, or Wretch Raven, the 1/4 that we talked about earlier for flying for 3, that when it attacks it discards a card, or opponent discards 2 cards, the 1/4 Scaled Gruon for 2, and the Torture for 3 and a shadow, give a unit -4, -1. On the board, our opponent has a 4/1 Granite Acolyte and the 6/5 Burning Claw. We have a 3/3 Crooked Alley Guide active, a 2/2, I forgot, Thunderbird, I think it is, the 2/2 Flying Aegis, and then the 2/5 Raven. So we triggered the discard 1 time. So we're stuck at 4 power. We have 2 3-drops, or 3 3-drops, and a 2-drop. Our opponent has, for the time being, they have better units than us. They have a 1/4 and a 6/5. We have a 3/3, a 2/2, and a 2/5. They're at 18, and we're at 25. So we're not near like an erasing scenario right now. So what would you do?
I would probably you have a 1/4 out, the 1/4 flyer.
No, the 1/4, the 1/4 is in our hand.
And you have the 0/5 out.
Yes, but we have triggered it once already, so it's a 2/5.
There's no onboard way to trigger the discard.
No, we had another 1/4 out in play, and they killed it. So the biggest problem here is the fact that we're choked on power right now. So we can play the 2/1 weapon. We can play another 1/4 flyer to discard. We could play a 1/4 Scaled Gruon to block the ground. Or we could play a Torture and either kill the Acolyte or make their 6/5 a 2/3.
I think that's probably the first thing I would do, is torture the big guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then next turn play the 1/4. The flyer.
1/4, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then to get the ball rolling on the 2/5 so that it gets bigger, and then try to use that as your win con, just the flyers.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes manageable, the 6/5. Once you torture, like you said, that's a great card. It pretty much neutralizes whatever the threat is, even if it's huge. So that's probably the first play I would do there with the cards that I have. If you had 5, it would be great, because you could do the Scaly Gruon as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what actually made this game a little awkward, is I think I went several turns without drawing that 5th power, so I had to play around. So for me, I actually think I played the, let me see, yes. So I actually ended up,
1/4.
Yeah, I played the 1/4 this turn, because the way I saw it is I was able, I'm at 25, so I'm okay taking a hit from the 6/5 right now for a tempo play. And the Alley Guide can easily block the Acolyte and trade if I wanted to. And they get the +2/+0 axe back, but I think that's negligible, especially having the Torture in hand. And having the 1/3 or the 1/4 trigger the discard the next turn means that the 2/5 will start to get bigger. The 0/5 Raven would start to get bigger, where I could effectively race them.
Yeah, it's basically like, that's the other play I would do, is play the 1/4 flyer instead of the Torture.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how close that play is, like 50-50, like 51-49. It's pretty close, I think. What do you do first there?
Yeah, so let me ask you one other question to this. To play the Blackguard Sidearm, would you play it on the 2/2 flyer with Aegis, the 2/5 Raven that is going to get bigger, but most likely be able to attack through everything with quick draw, or the 1/4? So you have like a distribution of your power. So long story short, the options for me is putting it on the Aegis unit so it's protected from removal, but it's locked into a 4/3. Put it on the Raven that's going to get more and more attacks so it can keep attacking regardless of what they play, or put it on the 1/4 to make it a 3/5, and that way your attack is dispersed across 3 units.
Yeah, if I was gonna play that, and like say, okay, this is what we're playing. What are we gonna play it on? I would put it on the 1/4, because then it could block the 4/1 by itself and not die.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, perfect world, you want to wait for 5 power so you could do the, you could trigger your. That's the spellcraft one, right?
The say again. I'm sorry.
The weapon is the spellcraft one.
No,
It's
no,
the 2/1.
it's the 2/1 quick draw. That's it.
Oh, it just gives quick draw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would still put it on the 3/5. I think.
Okay, fair enough.
What would you put it on?
I think I would end up putting it on the Aegis unit, because going up against Skycrag, they have both Conflagrate and Lightning Strike. So I think I would have rather like just kind of kept it a little bit safe and still diversified my threats. Because, and then like I said, the Raven would probably get bigger if I made it discard a couple more times. I don't think I ended up actually having a window to play it in that game, but yeah, that's how I would have done it should I have gotten to that point. Because I just like making a unit with Aegis a threat, because then they're forced to use 2 removal spells on it or have some kind of 2-for-1 action going on, versus like sometimes you want to put it on the threat that's going to get huge, because obviously if that Raven, that the O5 keeps getting bigger, right? You discard 2 more times and then put the weapon on it. Now all of a sudden it's like an 8/6 with quick draw, and that pretty much means like it's going to do all the work in the air, but they draw 1 removal spell, 1 bounce spell, and then you're out of luck.
Yeah.
Sweet. Thanks.
Very valid arguments. Yeah, no, thank you.
Sweet. Yeah, that was fun. Hopefully everyone at home was able to follow along with us with that. I do try to post the pictures and stuff, but I know it's difficult to try to describe an entire board state in the abstract. All right.
Yeah, it's hard to picture it.
All right.
But, it's fun though. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no, thank you. All right, so last segment of the show is our constructed corner. Before I get into my deck, have you been using anything to climb either Expedition or Throne?
I have not. I'm gonna play Expedition. I just haven't really experimented yet, and I've only played ranked to do quests. So I think I'm like in Silver 3 or something. Yeah, I don't play ranked at all. So
okay, yeah, no, absolutely nothing wrong with that. Trust me, I just like getting my free legendaries.
Yeah, I just haven't. Yeah, for sure.
All right,
Do you have a deck by death?
No, this one actually is something I got off of Warcry that I've been adjusting. I mean, I started with my own stuff and I modified it off of Warcry, and then I've modified it some more. And this is it's an Expedition Rakano deck. It's Oni Rakano Oni for Expedition. And the deck list real quick is 4 Oni Patrol, 4 Oni Samurai, 4 Acclaimed Artisan, 4 Jishu the Burning Brush, 3 Oni Forge Master, 4 Warbrush Oni, 4 Kozin Darkheart, 4 Red Canyon Smuggler, 4 Kojin Grand Shugo, 1 Heavy Axe, 1 Caleb's Persuader, 1 Steel Fang Chakram, 3 Finest Hour, 4 Conflagrate, 4 Rampage, 7 Fire Sigil, 4 Emblem of Shavka, 7 Justice Sigil, 4 Rakano Insignia, 4 Seed of Glory, and then the market is 1 Edict of Shavka, 1 Press the Advantage, 1 Lay Siege, Edict of Kodash, and Cloud of Ash. And I've actually seen a decent amount of success with this deck. It's still an aggressive deck, so sometimes you just kind of lose to units or decks that are trying to get bigger than you. but you're able to really get aggressive in this format, especially with the limited amount of removal. Sometimes the removal lines up, but there's sometimes where you could just go like 1-drop into double 1-drop into 3-drop, or and you just explode. Like the deck has so much synergy where if they're not able to keep every single threat off the board, you just run away with the game. And having Jishu allows you to put Overwhelm +1 and +1/+0 and Overwhelm on all your Oni following her, which is a great ability to combo with Rampage and Finest Hour, as well as the weapons. But then her tutor ability, where you're able to put a weapon on the top of your deck. That's why I have 3 1-ofs, and I'm still kind of playing around with the Steel Fang Chakram. But Heavy Axe is just a cheap weapon to get in there with. I wanted to have a cheap weapon to get. There is the option of running the Shiv because it has warp, so I could put it on the top of the deck with Jishu and then immediately play it, but I haven't tried that too much. Caleb's Persuader is just absolutely awesome. +3/+3 and deals 2 to the face, which synergizes with the Grand Shugo, because the trigger off the Persuader will make a Oni Ronin, and then once he deals damage to the opponent, he'll get another Oni Ronin. Let's see, Warbrush Oni. So the biggest changes I made is I added Warbrush Oni and Oni Patrol over Aiko or whatever, and I forgot what I replaced the Warbrush Oni, but I like Warbrush Oni. I think he does a lot more work than you think, especially since he also pumps weapons. But I like Oni Patrol over the Aka, or I forgot his name though. I think it's Akko, because honestly, like when he runs away with the game, it's great, but it was just way too much setup for him to do. And then I obviously cut a Forge Master to put in a 26 Fire Sigil, because I felt like the deck with Decimate really still wants to make sure they hit 4 on time. Like missing your 4th power drop just hurts so much, because then you can't play Kujon on curve or Caleb's Persuader. Let's see, Lay Siege works really well to break curses like Permafrost and things like that. Cloud of Ash helps you win the game in board stalls. And then Press the Advantage actually works out quite well, because it allows you to access it from the market whenever you have an additional power. And there are some turns where you have additional power laying around. So I'm just like, yeah, sure, I'll play the Press Gang to give my Kozin or my Kujo Aegis. But yeah, overall it's a fun deck. It's fairly cheap to make. The only legendary is the 1 Caleb Persuader, and then the 4 Kojun, since I took out the Akko. Everything else is either rare or and the Kozin. I'm sorry, the 4 Kozin. But I think Kozin is a really safe craft as well. Like, she's really good in a lot of decks.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this deck a whirl, I think.
Yeah, I'll send it to you in game. It does some work, and it's not that expensive. I might actually cut 2 of the Justice Sigils to put 2 Justice Emblems in there, because you do, like, that's typically when you lose is just when they have every removal spell or a momentum thing. The mirror definitely is an interesting and fun game to play, because sometimes you just get ran over. Like, sometimes just being in the play is all you need to win the mirror. And then other times it's how you maneuver, like what units to block with, what units to attack with, when to sack a unit to get something off the board and stuff like that. The other good thing I like about this deck is that it absolutely murders the Elysian decks. Like, the Elysian decks, I feel like unless they curve out exactly how they're supposed to against me, like, this deck just is way too much pressure for them to come back from. And so I have a pretty good time crushing those decks. The Xenon deck that's very popular, it just depends on boards. Like, are they able to put a ton of blockers out? Are they able to get their lifesteal engine going? Things like that. If they don't, then you just take them down. And even sometimes that's where the Edicts and the Cloud of Ash allow me to, like, get through enough damage. Because if they're not able to get their lifesteal on, I'm just doing too much damage to them, and then I just need to find a way to close out the game. But yeah, it's a super fun deck, not very expensive, so I definitely think if you guys just want to climb the expedition ladder and get your chest and stuff like that, you should definitely give it a whirl. But that is going to do it for Constructed Corner, which means that's the end of our podcast. So Darth Herman, do you want to plug what Discords people can find you at if they want to chit chat with you or anything like that?
I'm on your Discord, Farming Eternals. And then I think Ema as well, I think.
And then you're Darth Herman _2 in game, right?
Yep, Darth _Herman 2 in game. Feel free to send me a friend request. I'll be nice whether I win or lose.
Fair. I think we all have to be, especially in this draft format. All right, guys. Once again, you guys can follow my real life stuff on Instagram at CaesarLever7. Then you can follow the content I produce both on Twitter and YouTube at EJthePodcast or Eternal Journey. And definitely stay up to date whenever I post new videos and things like that when I go live streaming and have events like the Cube Draft. And of course, if you are not able to catch my content offline, definitely come hang out with me and Darth Herman online at twitch.tv/Jedi_EJ every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, where I stream a lot of limited and the occasional constructed thing. But that's it, guys. Thank you, Darth Herman, so much for being a part of the show. I really appreciate having a guest and someone to interact with. I really appreciate your insight. You brought a lot to the show today, so thank you.
Hey, no problem. And see you on Sunday, hopefully, where I'll get to do one of these, fun cube drafts.
Hopefully this Sunday's actually going to be, I'm going to change the cube up and it's going to be a peasant cube. So commons and uncommons only. And I'm hopefully to tune it up so it's tribal based. So it should be a lot of fun.
Right on. Sounds good.
All right. Once again, thank you so much for being on the show, buddy. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. Have a good rest of your night tonight.
Will do. All right, guys, that's going to do it. So until next time, happy gaming.